So what is a glacier? A glacier is just made up of fallen snow that over many years has compressed into like large thickened ice masses. Obviously it would have to be in an area where the snow remains year round and that there's less melting, that there is accumulation. We are also going to talk about some of the evidence that shows that a glacier was once present. To do that, we're going to go to an area in the high Sierras of California called North Peak. It's on the east side of the Sierras and it sits over 11,000 feet, and it's part of a valley glacier that still exists today. It's not quite as big as it was before. Therefore, seeing it has melted, it shows a lot of evidence. We'll focus on some of those erosional features as we took a hike up through this area from Saddleback Lake all the way up along something called an arête. We'll look at some cirques, we'll look at striations, and we'll even look at some mass wasting that occurs up in these upper elevations. So here we are. We're up at about 10,000 feet above Saddleback Lake, and we're looking to go up North Peak up there. And what I want to talk about real quick is this situation in the background here. So this big semicircular bowl that we're looking at is something called a cirque that was created by glaciers. This whole area was glaciated at one point. And because of that, it's the overlying weight of the massively thick ice dug this huge area out underneath here. So the glacier didn't go all the way up, but it definitely went to this whole bowl area. All these rocks right here were all moved by the glacier. It would be pretty hard to move these otherwise. These very straight lines on here, all parallel lines on the rock, they're called striations. These striations are formed by when this glacier was moving down and it's just dragging every one of these big rocks along there. And it'll just make these big grooves, and it'll even polish the rock in some point. So some other features I want to talk about that the glacier will carve out are these like knifey edges. And those knifey edges are called arêtes. And we're going to talk a little bit more about them. We're actually going to try to climb along that arête to access our peak here. It looks like the easiest way up. We don't want to make it too hard on ourselves. So here we are now. We're up on the southeast arête. And I just want to tell you what an arête is. So the arête is, we're standing on it, we were looking at it before, but now we're at a point where all an arête is basically that knife-shaped edge between one semicircular bowl and another. So usually you can see to both sides all torn up by glaciers. So I just want to take a look at this granite. This is plastic Yosemite granite. It's very rich in feldspar, and you can really see the size of these crystals just sticking out of the rock. It's pretty amazing, and they're really good for rock climbing then, because they end up making for very useful footholds, handholds. It's really kind of nice. But you can see the little black specks of biotite. You can see some quartz. Pretty typical, very similar to like a hand sample you'll have in class, but just an entire mountain of it. So I'm not just breathing hard because I'm old. I'm breathing hard because we're at about 11,000 feet. And as you know, the air gets a little thinner up here. So I'm just kind of showing you what we're climbing up. We're climbing up pretty much a talus or scree pile. So a lot of mass wasting going on. When stuff breaks off from these edges, it just starts to fall down. But I guess loose rocks can be kind of treacherous and whatnot. But good thing that that Yosemite granite is really nice and grippy. But we're getting towards the top of the ridge here. So last we talked, we were at the bottom of this ridge system. So down there somewhere, we essentially climbed this arête all that way. So again, that arête is a boundary between two semicircular basins, which are called cirques. Not for the faint-hearted, I'd say, for this one. If you take a look down, probably don't want to slip kind of weird flakes off. So this could be part of something called exfoliation. When these rocks, I mean, remember, this is granite rock, so it's an intrusive, igneous rock, but it's outside. So it's not inside the earth anymore. What happened? So it must have gotten pushed up, and then everything over top of it, there's probably miles of layers of sedimentary rock over top of it. And as all that pressure has been relieved now, and this thing is out to the atmosphere, it just starts breaking, and like peeling like an onion. And you can really see that in the way that this rock is just cracking along here. Now that might not be the only erosional force happening as well. I mean, there's a lot of freeze thaw here. So we've come up. We're almost at 11,200 feet or so. So being up here, it's quite a bit cooler. So at nights it gets really cold up here, and when it gets cold, if there's any moisture in the rocks, moisture gets in that rock, like any one of these rocks, moisture gets in those cracks, that moisture freezes, and then it just slowly starts to break the rock. This happens a lot even, you know, back home or wherever you are, in sidewalks. You see sidewalks breaking a lot. You get potholes. That's a lot of that is happening by that same type of feature. All that right now, what you're looking at, it's not cloud. Well, there are some clouds, but there's a lot of smoke, so it's kind of deterring the view, and mainly because it's forest fires going on right now. This is the high season for forest fires for sure. So to recap, in this video we've discussed about what a glacier actually is. We've also discussed a fair amount of erosional features that you might see after a glacier has retreated or melted a little bit. And we're also going to talk a little bit about some depositional features. Those features, along with some other erosional ones, are going to be found in the vocab that is assigned with this video. I hope you enjoyed following our hike up North Peak in California, which is just east of Yosemite Valley. Exploring these areas, viewing all these amazing glacial features, gives us a sense of the magnitude and strength of valley glaciers and how it has shaped the landscape of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Within this unit, we will also discuss how glaciers of a different nature help shape the landscape we live in back home in Western New York. Once again, I wish you could have all joined me, but for now, I'm glad I can share this experience with you. Till next time.